Welcome to the Voice of Senior Care. I'm Morgan.
And I'm Kiana.
And we're bringing families and the caregiving community together. Friendly Voices, the Senior Care Podcast.
Hello there. Welcome to Friendly Voices, the Senior Care Podcast, where we're coming together with families and the caregiving community to talk about topics that are very, very important. We know so many families today are going through so much when it comes to caring for their loved ones, and we want to be a resource for you guys. But first, I want to tell you all about us. My name is Kiana James, and I'm the founder and owner of a home care company called Friendly Faces Senior Care. And just to tell you a little bit about myself, I've been doing this since about 2010, and I love the senior care industry. I'm very, very active in our healthcare community. I get involved with a lot of different things, a lot of networking initiatives and things like that, and I just love working with seniors. When I got into senior care, it wasn't something that I necessarily planned, but I got into senior care and everybody was like, oh my gosh, that's so perfect for you, because I love being around seniors. So I'm so happy to be able to co-host this senior care podcast with you guys. But I also want to introduce the rest of our panel that we have from Friendly Faces. I'm going to start first with our dearest Amber.
Hey guys, I'm Amber. I'm a community relations manager with Friendly Faces, and I actually have 3 daughters. I'm happily married. My 2 oldest are pursuing careers at A&M, and my youngest is still in high school, so she still has time to figure all that out. And I actually love reading self-help books, anything that I can do to improve my leadership skills and influence skills. I enjoy doing that.
And tell us a little bit about your role at Friendly Faces.
So I love to get to meet with the families. I get to be the face to the company. We go out to the communities and help the families navigate through this senior care process, and maybe bring a little bit of peace to their minds whenever we're meeting with them and helping to provide the services that their loved one needs.
Yeah, we're very happy to have you. How long? You want to tell everybody how long you've been with Friendly Faces?
Sure. I actually met Kiana a little over 3 years ago.
Yeah, and you want to tell them how we met? We always kind of talk about that.
So we were both at a networking event, and I saw this beautiful lady in pink.
Oh, thank you.
And I felt like, we just sort of connected, kindred spirit, and I actually was thinking, gosh, what does she do? And I actually looked up Friendly Faces
we
website.
kind of stalked each other.
Yes, and so I was very, very honored to be invited to be a part of this team.
And we're so, so happy that you have you, and her daughter works for us part-time too.
Yes, my middle daughter's pursuing nursing, and so yeah, she does work as a caregiver for us when she's in town. I think that's awesome.
So happy to have you.
Thank you.
We also want to introduce one of our newest members, Miss Melody Lambert. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Actually, it's Melody. No, actually. I'm the Director of Business Development. I'm over the sales department. I've been with Kiana for a couple of months now, but I've been knowing her for a very long time. We also met at a networking event, which was pertaining to hospice. So I enjoy being here. I love the sales team. I love the industry. And basically, that's about it, because I'm a newcomer.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit about your past. So I know you're new with us, and we're so happy to have you. What industry were you in before you came to the senior care specific?
Well, basically, I've been in this industry, the medical field, for 32 years plus. I started out dealing with patients care, pharmaceutical. I did DME. I also was an educator for the night classes for CNAs and medical billing and coding. I worked in that industry also. So I've been in this industry for about 32 years plus, just different specialties.
And you did hospice as well?
Hospice, home health, pharmaceutical, durable medical equipment, and I can go on. So I've been, as a sales rep, I've been in each industry for a very, very long time. I love working with patients. I love the medical field.
Awesome. Yeah, and I don't even know how long, but she's, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years that I've known Mel.
Right.
But I always used to call her kind of like my big sister of the industry. So
yes.
we've talked and we've chatted for a long time. Never knew that we would actually get the pleasure of working together.
Yeah. But and I will say, when I met Kiana, she was talking about, oh, you're in sales. I guess she loved my pitch. And I would tell her, oh, I would never work in home care, but I love it now. Never say never.
Yeah, never say never. Well, I just want to say that I'm so happy that you decided to join us in the sales team. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you.
And we're really looking forward to all the things that we're going to be a part of in 2022.
Networking, events, and we just have a whole bunch of stuff that we need to start pursuing.
And you're kind of hearing the theme talking about networking. We do a lot of networking events at Friendly Faces. And, you know, a lot of our events are open to the public. So as we go through and talk through these different podcasts, we'll definitely, by the end of the podcast, let you know what we have coming up. Because if you're located here local in Houston, Texas, you're more than welcome to come out to any of our networking events. It's great opportunities to meet and socialize with other people, whether you're in the healthcare community or not. And so last but not least, we have our dearest Morgan. Tell us about yourself.
Hello, my name is Morgan Williams, and I've been with Friendly Faces almost a year, coming up on a year next month. And I'm married to my husband Lorenzo, and we have a son, Logan, who is 7.
Adorable.
My favorite little human. And I come actually from a background of health and fitness. And when I first was introduced to Kiana and was stalking the same, social media now, I realized she was a University of Houston
Go Cougs
alumni, so I knew that was a plus. And I'm so happy to be not only working with Friendly Faces, but now also bringing this Friendly Voices to you guys as well. In my free time, in my 5 minutes of free time, I enjoy personal training, running. I also enjoy running my own podcast and reading. Not so much self-help books anymore, but I do enjoy like juicy novels and things like that. So I'm happy to be here, happy to be sharing this space with you all, and love my team. So excited to bring you all into our craziness. And our craziness in pink.
Our craziness in pink. I
Ladies
like that.
I love that.
And Morgan, I know you were talking about you do a lot of training and she has clients. So if I'm correct, you get up like 4 a.m. in the morning or something crazy like that?
I do. I see clients virtually from 4:30 to 7:30 in the morning. And then I'll do all my morning routine with my little one, and then start the day with Friendly Faces, and then I'll end the day with my own workout usually. But it's great. I love helping others, and not only do I get to do it in the health and fitness industry, but now in the home care side. So it's great.
And she keeps us on track. She's our most disciplined person.
Yes, definitely.
She's always keeping us in line. But that's a little bit about us. So we're so happy to come to you today. We're going to come back in just a second, but we do have to take a short commercial break. So don't you go anywhere. We'll be back.
AT&T Fiber delivers a faster internet experience than cable. Ask me how to get 300 megabits per second for only $35 a month, plus taxes and fees, with no annual contract, no bundles required, and unlimited internet data included. Call Boss Up Houston Network at 832-895-5095. Again, that is Boss Up Houston Network at 832-895-5095. Limited availability may not be available in your area. Speed change based on the box upload and download capacity of internet 500 and 1,000 versus Xfinity extension and cost of 1 gig, 1.2 gig cable services with uploads of 10, 20, and 35 megabits per second. Download max speed is 920 megabits per second with internet 1,000. Speeds vary, not guaranteed.
It's Boss Up Houston, where we look up, stay up, and boss up.
Are you single? Maybe you're divorced or new in town. It's time to meet your match with Events and Adventures. Whether you're low-key or adventurous, come hang out with tons of like-minded people at exciting group activities. The best part? Everyone is single. From happy hours and trivia nights to outdoor adventures and weekend getaways. Events and Adventures has something for everyone. We're all here for the same reason. So come be part of a community made for singles. Your match is waiting for you to make your move. Visit eventsandadventures.com to get started. That's eventsandadventures.com.
Welcome back to Friendly Voices, the Senior Care Podcast. And I'm Kiana James, and this is the rest of our panel. We've already introduced ourselves, but I want you to know us just a little bit deeper. I want you to know more about our why. And I'm going to start with myself. But whenever we think about a why, I think it's very important for each and every person to know their why. What is your purpose? Why is it that you do what you do? That's something that's very, very important. And if you are working or doing something and you haven't really thought about your why, I want to challenge you to really take some time and just think about your why and your purpose. For me, I'm an entrepreneur. I've always wanted to be a business owner since probably the age of 8. I used to go around to my mom's friends and do pedicures. I had a pedicure kit and I would charge $8, and a lot of time they would tip me and I would make $20, and I was so happy. And I used to have my caboodle when I was in middle school, and it was full of nail polishes, and I'd charge $1 for the nail designs, and I think maybe $5 for the manicures. And I would go around before school started doing those nails. And that was my start into entrepreneurship. Now, as I got older, I went to the University of Houston, as we said before, go Cougs. And I actually graduated from the Wolf Center for Entrepreneurship. And then at that point, when you get out of school, you're at that pivotal moment of, okay, what do I do? So I knew that my heart was into entrepreneurship. But I knew my pocketbook was not into entrepreneurship at that point, because then you're in the real world. You're like, okay, well, what do I do? So I ended up in a career in sales and started off with technology sales, went into advertising sales, and then just kind of fell into healthcare sales, which was great because that put me into a path to working into healthcare. Now, you might be asking, how did I get into senior care? I never planned on it. I just kind of fell into it. But I watched my mom be a caregiver, and it really did make sense. So my mom was a part-time caregiver for one of her friend's mom, and she worked through an agency under like a Medicaid, a Texas program, and she did it part-time. But for years, I watched my mom take care of my grandmother, and my grandmother always lived with us, and my mom was the primary caretaker. My grandmother lived to be 91 years of age, and surprisingly, she never had to go into a rehab or a nursing home, a facility, or anything like that. And it was primarily because of the great care that my mom put into helping her out. And now that I'm in senior care, I know how rare that is if you don't go into, rehab or break a hip or something like that. It's very easy to do. But for years, I watched my mom do that. Now, when my mom was working through that agency, somehow I came up with the idea, let me look a little bit more into this. So originally, I wanted to get into home health. So that's through Medicare. That's more of the skill side. And I looked into it, and now I'm thinking it's kind of coming full circle. I'll probably still go into it, but I really started researching. And I'm that type of person that before I do anything, I'm going to research it. So I was looking into it for years. I started going into taking classes and finding out about Medicare home health. And then on the side, I kind of heard about this industry of home care, the private pay, but I really didn't look too much into it. But after I started learning more and more about Medicare, I kind of got scared away because they're like, oh man, reimbursements, they go up and down. The government's always changing the rules. I'm not, medical per se. I'm in healthcare, but I'm not a nurse. So I was like, maybe I should look a little bit more into this private side. Then I started researching it more and more. And I was like, you know what? This is actually perfect for me. Because I didn't have to worry about all the heavy regulations, even though our industry is regulated. But it's not as intensive as dealing with Medicare and the insurances. And then I felt that I could focus more on quality versus just kind of a number or quantity. So I was like, this really, really makes sense. And then once I started, kind of putting the pieces together, and this was a long process for me, but once I started putting the pieces together, I was like, this really makes sense. And then once people knew I was in senior care, they were like, oh yeah, that makes sense, because they would always see me around with my grandma, and I would always be helping her out, and I just loved hanging out with her. So for me to fall into senior care, it should have been a no-brainer, but I didn't know that in the beginning. And then during that whole process, my father, who we affectionately call Pawpaw, had started changing. He started having difficulties. And we didn't understand why he was having these difficulties. So, for example, he started giving money away. He got on these different lists. And people from all out of the country, they started writing him these letters, giving phone calls to him, saying, hey, if you give us $29, we'll give you $5,000. Or if you give us this, we'll give you that. And to a normal functioning person, okay, this doesn't make sense. If it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. This is not normal. But for someone who has a cognitive impairment, it may make sense to them. At that time, we did not know that he had that impairment. We just knew that he was making really poor financial decisions. That didn't make sense. So it got to the point where he really started giving a lot of money away. And that's really scary. In addition to that, he started getting lost when he was driving. And that wasn't like him either. So putting it all together, and without us knowing a lot about Alzheimer's and dementia, it wasn't even on our radar. But after a while, we know, okay, something's going on. And then he got diagnosed with having the Alzheimer's, and it just got worse and worse and worse. It got to a point where I remember the last time that he drove, he thought he could still work, and he was trying to go to Galveston for a job interview, and he ended up on the southeast side. He didn't know where he was. And so we had to literally have him just stop at a restaurant and read the signs. And so I had to go over there and find him, and then he had to follow me home. It's scary when it gets to that point. But at that point, we knew he was dealing with something. We just had to take the keys away. So it was very, very hard. But that was all going on in the process of me getting a senior care business together. So now when I talk about my why, I look at those examples of working with my grandmother and now working with my father. My father is still living. He will be 91 this month. And his Alzheimer's is very, very progressed. It's hard. But I look at that, and those are my whys. That's why I do what I do. So when I'm meeting with families and I'm working in the industry, it's not just business for me. I am a businesswoman, obviously I'm an entrepreneur, but it's not just business. It's personal to me as well. So I talk to my family members and I can relate to them. Sometimes they call and they're very distressed and all of these things are going on, and I just say, okay, let me tell you what I'm going through. I hear you, I feel you, I understand what you're going through. A lot of times they have very similar situations to what I'm going through. And so that really helps me to be able to relate. But I look at that and I just say those are my inspirations for what I do and why I do it. So Amber, tell us a little bit about your why.
Okay, so I actually started off as a teacher by trade, and so I've always kind of been in the service industry. once I started having my own children, I wanted to be able to stay at home and raise them. So I got into marketing, and I was also an entrepreneur, and I did that full time for 15 years. Very successfully, had time freedom, flexibility. It was wonderful. So I had the marketing background. And then once they got older, I just decided I would step back out into the world. And I met Kiana through the networking event, like we met, like we talked about earlier. And I mean, obviously, she's a lovely person, and I was very attracted to her business. Personally, I could recognize the entrepreneurship in her. And so I wanted to be a part of the team. I was so thankful that she called me up and invited me to do that. And, for me, when we get to go and meet with the families and sit down with them, most of them haven't been given a handbook on how to navigate senior care or what's going on with their loved one. And I do love, Kiana, that you are available to the families. Because, sometimes you don't find that in the corporate type names. So it's very reassuring to the families. I feel like we can come and sort of kind of talk them off the ledge and give them a piece about their loved one going to be okay, because we're going to come in, we're going to assist them in the ways that they need. We talk about their care goals, and we stay in communication about that too. We want to make sure that they feel they can trust what they have with our company and the people we're bringing in, and bring them a peace of mind when they're away from their loved one, that they're going to get the best care possible, next to what the family could provide. So I actually really enjoy that piece of sort of bringing them down and calming them down and the nerves and helping them to navigate through the process.
Yeah, and I know that your parents, thankfully, are still here and doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Her parents are gorgeous. I love to see them. But I know being in this industry will prepare you for some of the things
Absolutely.
that you may have to deal with as your loved ones get older.
Yes, it has been very eye-opening and very educational, being a part of this. And I'm grateful to have, those skills and that knowledge as well.
Yeah, and that's one thing I want to encourage people, and we will throughout this podcast, is just be proactive. So many families that we meet, they haven't prepared ahead of time. They don't know what to do, and that's something that I'm so fortunate that, and just my mom the other day was saying, I'm glad you're in this business, because now we're at a point where we have round-the-clock caregivers, but I knew what to do. Once we got to certain points, I knew what to do because I'm in this industry, and that's going to be the same for you, Amber. Once you get to those points, you're already trained, you know what to do, and that's a good thing.
And I really believe that caregivers can help diffuse some of the tension that happens, the dynamics with families too. So it is important to sort of bring in that third party,
Yes.
so that the two can just kind of relax and let it happen.
Yeah, and a lot of times, in some cases, not all cases, but in some cases, if you're dealing with a difficult family member, a lot of times they might listen to the caregiver over the family. They might treat them better. Sometimes, not always, but, and then the other thing I always say is, I said, we're Dr. Phil in some cases, because we're kind of calming everybody down, having everybody just take a breath, and our goal is just to help families. And so that's a really, really good thing, and that's something that we really enjoy. Mel, tell us about your why.
Well, basically, I chose this career due to the fact that I had a loved one that was diagnosed with a terminal illness, and at that time it was very disheartening because it was someone that I was very, very close to, I grew up with. And I didn't understand the diagnosis. I didn't understand, basically you're asking us to talk about our why. But it was always, the back of my mind was why? Why is this happening? Because it was a loved one. And at that point, that particular loved one did pass. And because I didn't comprehend on the diagnosis and the prognosis, and I didn't understand the medical terminology, I decided that at that point it would never be a lack of understanding on a medical condition if it was a loved one going forward. So I decided to go back to school and pursue my career in healthcare, and that's exactly what I did. So I feel like a lot of times we see nurses, we see doctors, and we feel like, oh, they just went to school because that was what they chose to do. A lot of times it's always some type of scenario behind it. And since then, I've been in this business now for 32 years, nonstop.
That's awesome. And that's a good point that you bring up. I find that a lot with the caregivers. Some of our best caregivers are those who became caregivers not because they planned on it, but because they had a loved one they were taking care of. And again, they kind of fell into it. And you tend to be more empathetic and compassionate when it comes to that. So that's good.
Exactly, when it hits home, close to home.
Exactly. Now, Morgan, you have a story. Tell us about your why.
Yeah, so I kind of like Amber took the entrepreneurial route, and then I had my little one, and so I thought, all I want to do is be a stay-at-home mom, and I traveled a lot with my husband's career, so I wasn't able to kind of be at home 24/7, but I always was home with my little one and did some of the entrepreneurial things. But when this opportunity came up, it was to start working with Friendly Faces. It was during a time where I was going through a family situation with my grandmother, who is actually, she was in one of the communities that we now serve, and that I get to go back to and see all the wonderful nurses and staff that took care of my grandmother. She passed away during COVID, but she also had Alzheimer's. And when I learned more about Friendly Faces and how we specialize in Alzheimer's and dementia, that was something meaningful for me, just going through it with my own family. I watched my mom be a caregiver to my grandmother for many years. And I mean, every day she took care of her. And I hope one day I'll be able to return that favor as well. But just watching that dynamic, and the last 3 years of her life, my grandmother's life, I was able to be home more and be present with my grandmother, which I'm forever grateful for. But now walking this journey with families, and when we visit a home or we go into a family's residence and we see the client, and either the child's nervous, the daughter or the son are nervous or confused, or the client is confused at why are we there, what are we doing. I mean, it reminds me so much of just my family situation, and it's so nice to be able to relate, like everyone else said. It's to relate to the families, what they're going through, to put ourselves in their shoes openly and honestly and say, hey, we're either going through it now or we've been through it. Just to relate to them, I think, makes all the difference, especially when maybe they're unfamiliar or they're in uncharted territory. So it's just a blessing. It's been a blessing to be in the communities for the good things when we do the games and the crafts and the bingo and the networking, but it's also really special to be a part of the family's decisions and the next steps. I mean, we are part of some of the most beautiful last times of people's life, and some of the hardest. I mean, we attend funerals for families. We're part of some of our wonderful families' last days here on earth. And I mean, it's a beautiful experience. It's a great opportunity. And we just have the honor to do that every day with our own families and with those that we take care of. So
thank you. Thank you guys for sharing your whys. So now you know a little bit more about us and our whys. Again, I want you to take a moment and just reflect and think about your why. Why do you do what you do? And if it's not in line with what you're doing, maybe you need to think, maybe there's something else that suits my purpose more. We're going to come back in just a second. We do have to take another commercial break, so don't go anywhere. We will be back. Thank you.
Hi, this is T. Foxy Wyckoff, and this is Let's Talk Business and Real Estate, where faith, hope, and determination comes alive. And you can't talk business without talking real estate. Come follow me. The Lord will bless. your barns, and you will bless your hands and everything you put them to do. The Lord will bless the property in which He's giving you. Tune in to Let's Talk Business and Real Estate on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. on the Boss Up Houston Network.
I'm so happy that you were able to join us today and learn a little bit more about us. I do want to talk about, and I have some notes here, some of our upcoming topics that we will discuss with this podcast. So you'll definitely have something to look forward to. We're going to talk about caregiving challenges during a global pandemic. No, we're dealing with COVID, so there's a lot of hot topics as it pertains to that. We have a subject here, A Minute with Mom, sharing the joys and woes of family caregiving. Moving in or moving out. Tips for decluttering mom and dad's home and keeping it safe. That's a good one. We see that a lot. Finances and the preferred options. We're going to talk about financial planning and options for seniors. Also, different ways in which you can be proactive when it comes to your own financial planning. Senior living and the new normal. Now that we're doing a pandemic, a lot of things have changed. We're going to talk about that. We have one on grit and grace, staying positive when things are tough. Communication is key. Helping bridge the communication gaps to better care for your loved ones. We know that's something that's really, really lacking in the healthcare industry. There's a breakdown in communication. So we're going to talk about that and some ways in which we can improve that. Heartbreaking decisions when mom and dad have to leave home. Specialized programming for seniors and its benefits. I like this one. Courageous conversations with aging parents. How, what to say, and when. Interesting. When life gives you lemons. Dance. Keeping mom and dad active as they age. Obviously, we're going to talk about dementia and Alzheimer's. Some of the newest developments, helping a loved one through it all. So many families are dealing with that. Are they out to get me? What is that about? Keeping mom and dad safe through the latest online and phone scams. I can tell you a lot about that one. That's just an array of topics that we will be talking about with this Senior Care podcast. So we do hope that you will tune in to each and every episode. Now, we do want to tell you about some things we have going on in our local community. I know not all of you are here in the Houston community, but if you are here in the Houston community, we definitely want to have you come out and join some of our events. I do want to say on Thursday, May 12th, we're going to have something that's going to be a celebration. I am from or live in the Pearland community, and I'm a part of a nonprofit called CAP of Pearland, and that's a nonprofit group that helps to provide temporary assistance for those in need are going through like a short-term crisis, like they may need help with rent assistance or with a car payment or getting some groceries or gas or a utility bill. And so we are raising money so that we can continue to fund those requests. And so we're going to have a celebration where we honor some top individuals within the Pearland community that have done outstanding work when it comes to philanthropy, business, and community service. So we're going to have that event on Thursday, May 12th. It is a luncheon, so it's going to be from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. It will be a jazz lunch. We'll have some entertainment, and it will be at Citadel, Houston. So we definitely want to encourage you to come out. If you want to find out more about purchasing tickets to that event, you can go online at www.capofpearland.org. Amber, I think you have something you wanted to invite everyone to?
Yes, so every third Thursday of the month, we are at Good Vibes in Pearland. And we're there from 4 to 6. It's outside on the patio and it's open networking. So anybody can come and enjoy that time and bring your business cards. And sometimes we do drawings. And if it's around a holiday, you might see me dressed up. So we have a lot of fun.
She loves to dress up.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I'd love to see you there.
Awesome. And Mel?
And I want you to know I will be supporting you for your event. Since I'm sales director, I will be supporting both of you guys. Coming up, stay tuned. Sugarland area, we'll be having case managers events and some happy hours. So just stay tuned for that.
Yeah, looking forward. And Morgan?
Yes, so I just wanted to go over quickly. We have a Houston Home Care Alliance, and it is an organization that is just for home care providers. If you own a home care company, if you work for a home care company, and we will be having quarterly meetings. So that's open to anyone that works for a home care company or owns a home care company. Those are for you.
Now, do y'all have the location set yet?
Yeah, so it'll be at Brookdale Galleria.
Okay.
Brookdale Galleria, and that's right off Post Oak in the Galleria area. All home care companies in the Houston area are invited. Woodlands, Pearland, Leak City. If you're in the Med Center, you're all invited to that as long as you work for or own a home care company. And we are on Facebook as well, and it's called the Houston Home Care Alliance, and you're welcome to join that group too.
Speaking of Facebook, I do want to let our audience know where they can find us online, because everyone's online now. So if you want to look us up on Instagram, we're going to be at friendlyfaces_HOU. And you can just search for Friendly Faces Senior Care on either Facebook or LinkedIn and follow us there. If you're on Twitter, you can find us Friendly Faces Senior. So that's Friendly Faces and SR at the end. That's our tag. And then our newest is TikTok. Please tune in. We're making videos on a weekly basis. But you can look us up on TikTok, friendlyfaces_HOU. And then if you want to find out more about our company, Friendly Faces Senior Care, you can log online at www.friendlyfaces.com. But that's all that we have for today. Again, I want to thank you for joining our Friendly Voices, the Senior Care Podcast, and we'll see you the next time. Have a good day.
Bye. Friendly Voices,
The Senior Care Podcast.